Good morning. Welcome to Sunday morning. Happy to be here with y'all. Welcome to the new faces. Becky, I don't believe I've seen you here before. Welcome, Christian, Ron. Greetings to the folks I can see on Zoom. Greetings to the folks I cannot see on Facebook and YouTube. Happy to have everybody here. Last week, I talked about the Eightfold Path. This week, I'm going to zero in on one piece of that, and that would be right speech. Along the line of the way we speak to ourselves is as important, if not more important, than the way we speak to others. There is this thing in the culture of people learning to be hard on themselves from an early age. And I don't believe that advances anything positive. And I have yet to witness any time when being hard on ourselves has ever advanced us feeling better about ourselves and the things we do. So I'm going to address that today because I think it's important. And so I'm going to talk about right speech as it applies to meeting our inner critic. And we all have one. But first, let's meditate. So I invite you first to find a comfortable meditation posture. If you're sitting, that would be a posture in which you can be alert but relaxed, sitting up straight, not like rigid straight, like pulling in the muscles in your back, but just letting your back fall into its natural curve. And you tuck in your chin a little bit. And if you had like a string, like pulling up at the top of your head, and like pull that up gently, not stressing the muscles in your neck or shoulders. Some people meditate laying down. That's perfectly fine. My suggestion is if you're going to do that, you keep this part of your arm on the ground and your hand in the air. That way, if you fall asleep, your hand comes down, wakes you up. So, I invite you to come into a meditation posture. And when we do that, we are actually signaling our mind and body that we are coming into something that is other than what was happening before. And gently close your eyes. And let's start with a few slow, deep breaths into the belly, just to get connected to the breathing in the body. Long, slow inhale, being aware of the sensations of the body receiving the breath. Long, slow exhale. And as you breathe out on the out breath, let's just begin the process of relaxing and softening the body. Another long, slow, deep breath. relaxing the muscles in the face, relaxing the muscles around your eyes, just letting your eyes rest and roll back in their sockets. Letting your breathing return to normal. Just receiving the in-breath, and as you exhale, just continuing to relax, soften, just letting your shoulders drop. Relaxing the muscles in your chest and belly. We tend to hold our bellies in, but now we're just going to let our bellies hang. Relaxing your thighs, just letting gravity do its thing and letting your body settle into your seat. As you breathe out, relaxing the thinking muscle to whatever degree you can. Just letting your mind settle to whatever degree it will. And now let your attention and your focus rest on the sensations of the body breathing and just focus there. For some, it's easier to focus on the sensations of the breath moving in and out of the nose. The cooler sensations of the air moving in. And the slightly warmer, maybe, sensations of the air moving out. Some people focus on the sensations of the chest or the belly moving up and down. And for some, focus on just the global experience of the body breathing. Whatever's easy, whatever works for you. Just resting your awareness on the rhythm of the body breathing. Changes from time to time. Sometimes there are longer breaths, sometimes there are shorter breaths. We're just observing and being with the breathing. Noticing the sensations of your body, maybe contracting and relaxing a little more on the out breath. Sensations of the body transitioning to an in breath and beginning to receive the out breath. Riding the sensations of the out breath all the way to the top. And then noticing the body transitioning to an out breath. And just riding that, staying aware of it all the way to the end. When your mind wanders off, and it will, it's the nature of the mind to think. We're not trying to stop that. When you notice that you've been thinking, either right away or after some period of time, just gently slide your awareness without rebuke, without any tension. Just gently slide your awareness back to the sensations of the body breathing. Again and again, as often as you notice, just come back.
Thank you. You too.
Thoughts arise. Doesn't matter what they are. Just notice thinking without getting involved in the content of whatever the thought stream is doing. That'll shift from moment to moment. Gently, this is a gentleness practice without self criticism, without contemplating whether you're doing it right. Just the simplicity of noticing that your mind has gone off in thought and returning to awareness and focus on the sensations of the body breathing in and out. You notice you're thinking again. It's okay. It's all good. Just come back to the simplicity of the present moment, of the body, breathing in and out, of the simplicity of this moment. Nothing is happening right now. Just sitting in the body, and as we come to the end of this sitting, I invite you to notice the state of your mind and your body in this moment. may it be that the benefits of this meditation enable us to walk through the world today in kindness and compassion, to view the world through kind eyes, to be a little more present so that we can meet the people we encounter with kindness. And spread that sort of settled energy. Let kindness and compassion radiate into your households, into your neighborhoods, into your towns, to the people you talk to the momentary encounters at the grocery store, like ripples from the pebble in the pond. May the benefits of this practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at ease and at peace. Thank you for your practice. And again, welcome. I have put the usual information in the Zoom chat. Information how to find these sessions. My contact information. Feel free to contact me at any time. My website, the Facebook group. We meet here every Sunday, here wherever you are. There's also a link to donation if you feel so moved or inspired. This is not a request. It's not a requirement. If you feel like it. So today we're going to talk about right speech. It's one of the wisdom components of the Eightfold Path. And when Buddha enumerated right speech, he articulated some what's translated into doors for it to go through. And those would be, in one place he said, is it factual? Is it divisive? Does it create harmony or disharmony? You want to create harmony. It's not harsh or abusive, it's gentle. It's not just idle. And am I speaking with the mind of goodwill? And is it the right time? And then later he enumerated again, is it timely? Is it true? Is it gentle? That's what we're focusing on today. Is it beneficial? And is it spoken with goodwill? And the principles of right speech are as important for how we talk to ourselves as they are for how we navigate the world. Because there is this strain in the culture and being hard on ourselves, which I don't believe contributes to anything positive. And as I've told this story many times, when Buddha was sitting under the Bodhi tree in what is now Bodh Gaya, India, Mara, the god of illusion, tried to stop the awakening. And among the things Mara did to try to stop the awakening was through all of Gotama's inner doubts and criticisms at him. That was his primary tool after he'd run out of everything else. And we all have this inner critic. We all dance with Mara. Mara is just the inner shadow, the parts of ourselves we find difficult to look at. And the critic, which I'm talking to in third party terms on purpose because it's not who we are, it's something we have learned. It takes on every piece of us, how you look and what you eat and where you work and how you work and whether you do enough, how you spend your time, how you come across to other people, how you meditate, how often. Am I doing it right? That's the question I get more than any other question about meditation. Am I doing it right? The answer is yes, you are, because the doing it is the doing it. But the critic, it's endless, right? It never seems to stop. And it's very difficult to stop it. And it's not timely. It doesn't pass through the door of timely. Because if you listen to the thought stream, it has certain qualities that are predictable. It's always in the past telling you you should have done that differently. Or it's in the future warning you that you're going to screw up or predicting disaster. It's almost never focused in the present moment where we actually are, where things are well and simple. And it just goes casting dispersions. And it's always some form of greed, aversion, and doubt. Greed is I have to have this. I'm not okay. I need this and I'll be okay. What I have often referred to as destination addiction. I'm not okay now, but I will be when. But we can decide that we're okay now, which is a separate issue from being comfortable, by the way. Aversion, our own experience, I don't want it. When we're having difficult feelings, there are no good or bad feelings. They're just difficult feelings are easier. They're harder, they're easier. They're pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. When we come upon unpleasant feelings, we have learned to, nope, not that. Meet that with aversion. But that's harsh. You wouldn't approach an injured child and wag your finger, but we do that to ourselves when we meet our own injury. And doubt, self doubt, am I okay? The last thing that Mara said to Buddha before Buddha was awakened, he said, "What makes you think you can?" Self doubt. And we walk around with this all the time. And the critic, some people say, well, you don't have to critique yourself. Well, that may be true. But the critic is different from a critique. A critique is constructive. It's constructive criticism with oriented toward a specific event or activity with the intent of improving. The critic just makes global statements about how bad you are and uses your latest instance of whatever it is you were doing to back it up. As one friend of mine described it, it's the constant voice of bad, stupid, and wrong. And frankly, you deserve better. We all do. And, look, I do this. We all do this. Someone doesn't call me back, and the critic says, oh, this person's getting rid of me. Right? We're so used to it, we don't even notice it. I locked twice in 1 week. I locked my keys in the car with the motor running. Yeah, I did that. And the critic was like, you are an idiot. You can't even call anybody to come and get you because this is too embarrassing. None of that was true. But this is where we go, right? And we're so used to it, we don't even notice it. It just sort of becomes this water that we're swimming in. And we assume that it's us, and it's not. It's not your voice. If you look at your conditioning, it's in someone else's handwriting all the time. You know, I had a therapist who, whenever I would be really hard on myself, he'd say, "Whose voice is that?" And the truth is, it's not my voice. It's not the voice of a higher power. Certainly not the voice of the Dharma. And as I said, if you look at it, it's in someone else's handwriting. And for me, there's two. For most people, there's two primaries. One is my mother, who went through her life anticipating disaster and always worrying about it. Right? So I've got that thing going on. And my father, I could never do anything right in front of him. So I have that wondering whether I'm doing the right thing. And I'll give you an example of how strange that can look. I've told this story here before. I was on a meditation retreat some years ago at a place called Cloud Mountain in southern Washington State. It's beautiful out there. It's a 10-day retreat, and we're like day 4 or 5, way out in the forest. It was just after the rains, so the forest is really like lush and smelled beautiful and all of that. And I'm sitting out on this wooden deck out in the woods, and I'm meditating. And I hear it. "You're screwing up." Literally, those are the words. "You're screwing up. You're getting it wrong." And I'm like, what could I possibly be screwing up? I am literally just sitting here to do nothing other than just sitting here. It was like I could see Mars sitting right in front of me. And when Buddha opened his eyes and saw Mara, finally, cleared all the fog, saw Mara in the movie Little Buddha, is this like grubby little hairy little man sitting in front of Buddha. He said, "I see you, Mara. Let's have tea." So he met it with awakening, looked right at it, and then met it with an invitation to gentleness, which is what I'm suggesting we do when we notice that we are going towards that sort of self criticism. And it's relentless, right? We hear it every day. Um, One friend of mine refers to it as the radio station of the mind. WSKU is noon, you're screwed. But it's just noise, and it's a loop. It has no new information. It's always in the past, rehashing something from the past, and to the degree to which it appears to be forward looking, what's actually happening is if you imagine your psyche as this giant filing cabinet, and something happens in front of you, and the critic reaches back there and pulls a bad, stupid, and wrong file, right, and holds it up in front of you, and that's the filter now through which you are seeing. So there's no new information here. And every time we engage it, we strengthen it. So, how do we not engage? I said to my therapist one time, very early in my sobriety, I said, "I want to take my addict self out and shoot it." He said, "Well, why don't you take it out and love it?" What if we could learn to love the parts of ourselves that we find difficult, including this one? We can meet it with some discernment. I love riding. I ride a motorcycle. I love riding, but I also have enough discernment not to ride where the semi truck can't see me. It's that sort of discernment. The mind is like this moving train, and it's not like it's going anywhere any more than the rain is going anywhere. But we can look at it and say, that's not necessarily true. Because our thoughts are real, we hear them, our thoughts are real, but they're not true. We hear them, but they are not truths. It's telling me there isn't enough. It's telling me I can't succeed. I was a newspaper reporter for 20 years and loved it for 16 and eventually got out. But I went through a long period of time of believing that I couldn't do anything else because I only had this one set of skills. And that was my inner critic telling me, it's not safe, you're not okay, you can't do anything else. And I ended up quitting that job and had a really great career as a therapist that I enjoyed a whole lot. And now I'm doing this. The voice is going to tell me this isn't going to work out. But so far, so good. All evidence to the contrary. So Buddha spoke to this in the Dharmapada. How do we meet this? He said, if one knew oneself to be precious, one would guard oneself with care. The sage will watch over herself or himself in any part of the night. Don't give up your own welfare for the sake of others' welfare, however great. Clearly know your own welfare and be intent on the highest good. You know you're a good person, right? You just got this little light. One friend of mine referred to as there's a little blue man in the back of my head going, wee, 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 wee. We can meet this the way we would meet a frightened child, because that's basically what it is, or who it is. I have named this part of me. I gave it a name. I call it Herbert. And the way that came about, I was on vacation off the coast of North Carolina. If you haven't been to the Outer Banks of North Carolina, you're missing out. It's beautiful out there. And I'm sitting out on literally a deserted beach, right? It's just me. The sand is beautiful. The water is relatively still at that time of day. And I hear like this angry thing going on in my head, right? And I'm like, wow, that's not even me. It's not reflective of what's going on at all right in this moment. So I named it Herbert after a Star Trek reference. You can look it up. If you Google Star Trek Herbert, you'll come up with it. Response says, I am not Herbert. And I meet that with, okay, I hear you. Let's take some deep breaths. And what we get from the mindfulness practice, one of the fruits of this practice of meditation, which builds on itself over time, is we learn to more quickly notice when our thought stream is not serving us. I'm not going to say, oh, damn. I'm going to say, okay, I'm okay. And look at this grieving child in my heart and say, you're okay. And meet him with love and openness and gentleness and reassurance. And it's a really good time to practice self-compassion. Anyone who's been coming to these sessions for any period of time knows that I'm always pointing towards self-compassion. And you can use that as an opportunity to focus on what's happening right now in this moment, which 99.9 times out of 100 is nothing. The critic is never focused in the present moment, but in the present moment, everything is fine. There's that 0.1% of the time where something odd happens. I used to rent an office in Jeffersonville, Indiana. And the guy who owned the building and rented me the office loved to tell that story about how some guy got drunk one night and drove his car through the wall of what was then my office before I rented it. So I say not 100% because I don't know that a car is not going to drive through the wall. But the critic is never here. The critic is always then or later. And here is okay. We're okay. And you can ask yourself when you're hearing this voice of, I'm not okay, you can ask yourself, what do I actually know to be true? Not what do I think is true, right? Because what I think is separate from reality is often enough. What do I actually know to be true? I know that I've been doing these teachings for 2 years. I know that nobody has ever sent me like a nasty note telling me to go back to being a cab driver, right? Um, I knew that I was very successful as a journalist. Um, yeah, things happen and things are difficult. And when we meet the critic this way, one of the things we start to learn is that even when it's difficult, we're still okay. We're in a difficult circumstances, we're grieving that something is happening. But there's a part of us that's always okay, and we can always meet it. So I invite you to be kind and gentle with yourselves. That is the most important thing I will ever say in any of these teachings. To be kind and gentle with yourself all of the time. You would never let anybody else talk to you the way you talk to yourself sometimes. You deserve better. You would never deliver that kind of harshness to a friend who is grieving or troubled or just confused. So it's a good time to offer yourself the same kindness and compassion that you would offer to anyone else. Surrender the idea that you're going to get rid of this part of your personality. You're not. Because the other part of the Buddha Mara story is that Mara continued to appear to Buddha all throughout his life. And what I get from that is Buddha continued to navigate with his doubts. So we all get to do that. But let's do it with some gentleness. Let's do it with some kindness. So just again, be kind and gentle with yourself. Thank you for your kind attention. Any comments, questions, thoughts?
Just thank you. This is lovely.
Thank you, Becky. I'm glad you came. How did you find out about this?
It's just online. I was just searching for some. I've virtually gotten off of Facebook. There's been some family members out of the country, and I thought, well, what if I just instead use it for betterment rather than, and joined a couple of groups, and I saw the post.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Glad you're here. The thing about Facebook is mostly it's noise, right? But I find stuff like this, and and I have contacted people who've been out of my life for decades. So it's good for that. The rest is who cares. Glad you're here. Come back again.
Thank you. I will. Thank you.
Hi, Julie.
Hey, Ken.
Hey.
Up here in the Ohio Valley, yesterday we could hear the Sandfield cranes
How cool is that?
heading north. I know you know what that means.
Yes. When I moved down here to Florida, I noticed they're everywhere. I mean, in Indiana and Kentucky, like it's really unusual. Here, they walk across my front lawn. Without like knocking the sound of it. Yeah. Way cool.
Hey, Ken.
Hi, Christian.
Hey, how are you? No, I just really appreciate it, all that you said. I really like the analogy, or not analogy, that it's just not written in my handwriting. That really appealed to me. It's constant and relentless, and it's good to, I come here and hear, someone like you can get me to the place where I need to be, which is where I got during the meditation. And I think it's going to, really change my day, potentially the week. And this is my first time here. I found it too on Facebook. You'll see my face again for sure.
I appreciate that. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of relentless, right?
Yeah.
And, my teacher, Gil Farnsdale, was the one who coined the phrase, the manual labor of meditation, right? Which is the mind wanders off and we come back. The mind wanders off and we come back. It's like the symphony we're conducting.
Sure.
One of the reasons why that's so valuable is it helps us notice, oh, the critic is active. The mind is wandered to that while we're walking around in the day-to-day world. And then we can go back to some sort of center. So it's kind of training for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Glad you're here. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Ken. Yeah, I wanted to thank you as well. That was very nice. And yeah, I feel like through meditation, I have gotten much better at, not hearing the voice in the head saying like you're a failure, you're screwing up, and I've become much more compassionate towards myself. But I do still have that guilt syndrome we've talked about before, where sometimes if you've inadvertently said something to somebody that you knew, you realize later on was hurtful, or that you regretted. That's the part that's hardest, is that those things keep replaying in my head. Like, I wish I hadn't made those mistakes. I wish I could apologize and find that person, but I can't. So those are the hardest for me right now. But at least, like, the voices of parents and people from the past that you're talking about, I feel meditation has really helped me with
Glad to hear that.
that. I don't feel that anymore the way I used to. So.
You can forgive yourself for the foibles of the past. We're all doing the best we can, and it happens to be good enough. I may have been more present and more pleasant last week. Causes and conditions were different last week. The same applies to next week. Causes and conditions will be different next week. This past week, I did something that I had sworn I would never do again. I bought a piece of furniture that you had to assemble. I would rather slide down a razor blade into a vat of iodine. Right? And the phone rang like right in the middle of that. And I was like, what? Okay, so that was not a gentle moment. And my friend was like, what's happening, Ken? I said, I am assembling a piece of furniture. Take some slow, deep breaths. The furniture did not get reduced to kindling. That's okay. But, there are moments when we're just on top of it and not so much. And what I'm hearing you say is you're awake to that more than you used to be. Hooray! The 10th step of Alcoholics Anonymous speaks to this. It says we continue to take an inventory. And when we're wrong, we admit it, which basically says we cannot expect to just go forth, right, and be perfect with this all the time. There's a reason why they call this a practice. In AA, they say we practice these principles. We practice meditation. We practice mindfulness. Eric Clapton has been known to practice for 8 hours at a time, and he's Eric Clapton. Right? We do the best we can. It's good enough. So,
Thank you.
we're coming up on 10 o'clock. It's good to see you guys. Welcome to the new people. Look forward to seeing you all again. And I will see you next week.